it's time to talk about African football once again on Nigeria Superfans Forum. My name remains Ashalulu Afemi. Today on the show, James Agberebi is my co-pilot, and we'll be doing this together today. James Agberebi, you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Femi. Always a pleasure being on the show.
Okay, so let's quickly give you a peep into what we'll be discussing on the show today. We'll be talking about Victor Osimhen, his current form, and we'll be looking at if he is a strong contender for the African Footballer of the Year next year, January. And we'll be talking about Christian Atsu, of course. Prayers are still going up regarding his safety right there in Turkey, because at the moment about close to 16,000 people have been confirmed dead, and people are still being pulled out of the rubble. So we are hoping, we are praying alongside Ghana and all the African brothers and sisters that we will get good news as soon as that can come in. Of course, his family have also been talking about how they have been handling the matter. Remember, initially news came that he was safe, and we were all happy. And at the time, the club Atsu, which he plays for in Turkey, came out to say that they've not heard from him. And of course, we'll be talking about the 2023 FIFA Club World Cup in Morocco. Unfortunately, Al Ahly couldn't go beyond the semi-finals. They crashed to Real Madrid 4-1. And so Real Madrid and Al Ahly in the final. And of course, we're talking about the under-20 AFCON coming up later this month in Egypt. Of course, the Senegal, they've released their 26-man list that will be playing the Young Cup. That's what they call them. The Young Cup will be playing in that competition. Of course, Nigeria also will be there. Unfortunately, Ghana wouldn't be there. Ghana will also not be at the under-17 AFCON in Algeria. So, James, let's get started. So much to talk about. Let's begin from home. Let's talk about Victor Osimhen. He's been making the headlines home and abroad about his performance for Napoli this season, the top scorer, and of course, he's the first player to score 16 goals in the Serie A this season. But a lot of people have been saying that he has done enough to at least be a major contender for the African Footballer of the Year. If you look at the 2022 World Cup, maybe perhaps some have said that there was no African who stood out at the tournament. But do you agree that Victor Osimhen has done enough this season to become a strong contender for that coveted prize?
Well, Femi, for me, I think Osimhen is halfway there. I will not say based on what is on the ground now. So he's a very strong contender. I mean, the season is halfway. He has done a good job so far. Current top scorer in Syria, one of the strongest league in the world. I mean, the record there that is pursuing now is imagine top scorer. No African player, not even when George Weah was there, Samuel Eto'o, or former Super Eagles striker Bafemi Martins. None of them finished top scorer in Syria. So it's a big call for Victor Osimhen. So the most important thing now is for him to try and finish top scorer and help Napoli to win the league. If that target is achieved, I believe is going to be a very, very strong contender, because that's what we put him in a good position to emerge African Footballer of the Year. Who says he cannot win it? I mean, so far, if you look at the hottest striker in Africa now, you can't look any further than Victor Osimhen. Which other African striker can you pinpoint now that is banging in the goals in the top leagues in Europe? And in the Premier League, Erling Haaland is running away with the golden boots there. In what is it called? In Spain, it's I think Lewandowski. Germany, I can't remember the player who is topping the league there, but I mean, for an African player to be the top goal scorer in Syria, I mean, it doesn't come any easier, you know. So for me, Victor Osimhen is so far so good. The most important thing is he doesn't get injury, you know, because you know that at a point in this season he got injured, and then the good thing that he was able to bounce back and kicked off from where he stopped. So, like I said, he's halfway there. So if he can push on, because he's in red hot form, I will be hearing stories that Manchester United are looking at him as a replacement for in case they don't get Harry Kane. So they are looking in the direction of Victor Osimhen. This is not the first time they've beamed their flashlight on Osimhen, because they've been monitoring him, and 14 goals. I mean, for an African player in the Serie A, where you have other top strikers, so.
Well, 16 now. He has 16 now.
16, yeah, sorry, 16. It's a compatriot, Ademola Lookman, who is out on his heels. I mean, that he has a lot of work to do. So Osimhen has been consistent. I mean, you see anytime you watch Napoli game, you see that hunger in him. That aside from planning to become the top scorer, the way he's dragging the team. I mean, you see it in his the way he goes about doing this business. If he cannot score, there's always this thing about him that he always wants to set up his teammates to score. Because for him, it's about the team and going alongside his target of becoming a top scorer. So I think if eventually he doesn't win the top scorers award, I believe he's now a very key player in the Napoli squad. And if they eventually go on to win the league, I mean, you cannot look elsewhere than Victor Osimhen, because so far, which I can't recall which African player is red hot in Europe now. Fine, some people might want to say, oh, the Moroccan team, they did well at the World Cup, blah, blah, blah. But how many of them made any major movement in the general transfer window? None. So that's why the fact that they did very well at the World Cup, no club broke the bank for them. We only heard of the likes of Amrabat, Unai, who were being touted to move, but eventually they didn't move. So I mean, so for the Moroccan team, it was just more of a collective effort. Not that one player was the most outstanding player. We've seen it before in the 2010 World Cup. FIFA Player of the Year. Everybody thought the likes of somebody like Schneider or Xavi, Iniesta, those who won the World Cup. But eventually the award went to Lionel Messi, somebody that didn't do too well at the World Cup. So sometimes the way it goes, you cannot predict. So let's just hope that Victor Osimhen remains injury-free, so that at least we have our first African Footballer of the Year since 1999.
Okay, of course. Napoli, they've also not been in this position since 1988, 1989, 1990 season when Diego Maradona won the Serie A, the Scudetto for Napoli. And of course, he was also in the running to break the 125-year record in which no African player has won the Golden Boot in the Italian Serie A. Napoli are at the moment 13 points ahead of second place Inter. So we wish Victor Osimhen all the best. James, let's go to Christian Atsu now. I put myself in the shoes of the family and I imagine what they would be going through right now, because they're praying, hoping for at least some news, some good news to come from him, because initially we received a report that he was fine, and all of a sudden it's turned around that the club Atsu, where he plays for in Turkey, said they've not heard about from him. On February 5th, he made his debut for the club and he scored on his debut against Kasim Pasa. And just 24 hours later, he became something that everyone is worried about. Everyone in Ghana ends up praying to God now for some news. James, I think we cannot underemphasize how much we need a divine intervention at this moment, because according to international media reports this morning, the situation is gradually changing from rescue mission to perhaps the rescuers who are working on the side of the 7.8 magnitude earthquake, giving up on finding more survivors. We are just praying to God for good news now.
Femi, this is not something that one want to find into ourselves in. I mean, it's a sad story. I mean, when they came up with news that he has been found, rushed to hospital, we were so happy that at last. All of a sudden, we now hear that no, it was a case of a mistaken identity. I mean, just imagine what the family will be going through now. It's Black Stars teammate Mubarak Wakaso. He made a statement on his Twitter that they are yet to recover him, and that the story about him being rushed to the hospital was false. And so I mean, you just imagine the devastation everybody felt. That he wasn't the one that was a mistaken identity. So at this point now, it's all about prayers now. Miracle. We just need a miracle from God, because I mean, since on Monday that this incident happened. We are, 4 days after. I mean, what we need to do now is start praying and hoping that God will, in His infinite mercy, come down and do something, because it's out of everybody's hands now. For somebody to be in the rubbles for 4 days, I mean, it's only God who can perform miracle now. Because I don't know. I'm somebody who is in the faraway land, trying to make ends meet, to help his family and portray Ghana, doing his thing. But all of a sudden, we just hear this sad news, So I don't know. It's sad. It's sad. Like I said, the family, the state that they will be in now, nobody will pray to be in such state. It's very sad. Like I said, it's only God now that we are hoping on. Because miracles do happen. We've seen cases of people who are in rubbles for days. At the end of the day, they still come out alive. So we pray that Christians case will be like that, and so they're able to join his family. So it's sad. I said,
okay. Talking about family
now.
Okay, talking about family, a family of 6 were pulled out of the rubble in Syria yesterday, and it was great news. So that gives us hope that
Yes,
a miracle, like we say, if you just believe there can be a miracle, and we are praying to God that we're going to get one very soon about Christian Atsu. Yeah, of course, the older brother, talking about Isaac Cheye, Twasam, he's been talking about, I received the news, and he said, I was taking feeding fees from pupils when I was informed about the incident. He said, upon hearing, I stopped, headed home, and immediately turned off my phone and lied on the floor. He said, we're all frightened by the news, but we take solace in God, in how God saved Jonah from the belly of the big fish. Hence, we know no matter what happens, Atsu will be back safe. So we continue in prayers, just like Ghanaians are doing. So we Nigerians, people in Senegal, Cameroon, Morocco, Algeria, everyone, we are praying that Christian also will return safely to us. And of course, Vincent Abubakar, who plays for Besiktas, is safe. And of course, Samuel Tete, another Ghanaian player, of course, who plays in Turkey, is also safe. But James, we heard that a number of African players who played in Turkey said they wanted to return home because of the threat, the fright that this has actually brought to them. But they said the borders have been closed. A player of the Black Princesses was talking recently, and she said they need prayers, that things are difficult right there, and we can only pray for them that everything will be fine. Of course, the international aid has continued to point to Turkey to help bring relief to all the players who are in this. James, still talking about Ghanaian football. Our former GFA chairman talking about Inyao Tamakloe. Remember, he was the one who said that Black Galaxies, some of the players and the Black Galaxies who played at the 2022 CHAN are more than 35 years and above. He has come out to actually disapprove the plan by the Executive Council of the Ghana Football Association to increase the term of the president from 2 terms to 3 terms. And he said he's going to fight anyone who does that. James, I think with what we've seen in the Ghanaian football, I don't know. I'm not Ghanaian, you're not Ghanaian, but I know if you put ourselves in the shoes of a lot of Ghanaian football fans, they would say that the country hasn't achieved much in football, particularly under the present administration. And now be thinking about increasing the term of office. I think that is grossly inappropriate at this time, because look at 2021 CHAN, look at how the Black Stars were knocked out, look at 2022 World Cup, a lot of people were not contented. Look at even CHAN right here. A lot of Ghanaians were not happy about how the Black Galaxies were dumped out. And the Executive Council is talking about extending the tenure of the president.
Femi, I think this is a case of misplaced priority. I think what the GFA should be thinking of now is how to improve the standard of football in Ghana, because fine, they qualified for the World Cup, but they didn't go beyond the group stage. Look at the CHAN team; they got to the quarterfinal and they were kicked out of quarterfinal by minus, and the Black Queens, they didn't qualify for the
World
WAFCON,
Cup.
which automatically ruled them out of the World Cup. So all these are things that should bother even the under 17, under 20. They are not going to be
There, yeah.
They're not. They'll miss out. So that should be a kind of worry for the GFA. Not trying to what will I call it now? It's as if they are now putting their attention to them. Like, okay, they've not done well. The football in Ghana is not what it used to be. I mean, so why is it that they are trying to? It's as if they want to reward themselves. Rewarded with what? As in, based on what? You didn't do well. The team, the Black Stars, they are struggling. Forget the fact that they qualify for the World Cup. They are struggling. You know, it's just good that they are good players now who have emerged in the team. The most important thing for the GFA to do is to get a good handler that will position this team to qualify for the WAFCON and for the AFCON, you know, and move on from there and think of how to regroup in the junior team. The Black Queens, they've not been doing well for years now. But what is next in the agenda is how to improve, how to reward themselves with extension for the president. I mean, who does that? That's misplaced priority. What should be uppermost in their mind is how to reposition Ghana football. We also saw what they did in the 2006 to 2010. I mean, that was the period where Ghana really did well in football. Where they qualified for the World Cup, did well, got to the round of 16 at their first appearance in 2006. They hosted the AFCON in 2008. Unfortunately, they didn't win it, but they gave a good account of themselves. They took a young team to I mean, they won the under 20 World Cup in 2009 in Egypt, the first and only African team to have ever achieved that feat. You know, and the bulk of their players, very young side, they went to the AFCON in 2010. They got to the final, only to lose to an experienced Egyptian side, but they gave a good account of themselves. And we also what they did at the World Cup. That's planning. That's what they should be thinking of now. That sit down and think of how to move the Ghana football forward, not trying to reward themselves with I mean, that's wrong. I mean, so I want to believe that there are people who will come out and fight against it. This is not what they should be doing now. It's how to improve Ghana football.
Okay, so James and Dr. Tabakle, they're on the same page. And of course, I'm sure a lot of Ghanaian football fans are also on the same page. But of course, the proposal will have to be approved by the Congress, which I think might not possibly see the light of day. James, let's talk about quickly before we go to the 2023 FIFA Club World Cup going on in Morocco. Kevin Trippier was asked who he would pick between Casemiro, Thomas Partey, and Declan Rice. And he said he's going to pick Rice. So he said that he will pick Declan Rice over Thomas Partey. Well, I have what to say, but how would you react to this? Forget the fact that maybe you're an Arsenal fan, you're an African, but with what we've seen both of them do in the Premier League this season, who would you pick? Casemiro? You know, we've talked about this before. I think it was Fabinho. Fabinho was the other person.
Yeah.
But with Thomas Partey, Casemiro, and even Declan Rice, for me, I think Declan Rice does not even come to the picture. But Kevin Trippier say he will pick Rice over even Partey, not to even talk of Casemiro.
I think that for me that I don't even know how to. That's a ridiculous statement to make. I mean, you should understand where Trippier is coming from.
And Gabriel Agbola also agree with him.
I mean, you shouldn't be surprised. These are you understand where they are coming from. They always want to hype their average players. I mean, we've seen Partey play at the world stage. He played in the Champions League final with Atletico Madrid in 2016. Yeah, he's a Europa Cup winner. He's European Super Cup winner. He's on the verge of helping us now to win the Premier League since 2004. Not to even mention Casemiro, because Casemiro is even a different topic entirely, you know. For them to come out and start comparing, I mean, maybe they're on something. I don't. They've taken something that is kind of reacting negatively in their system. I mean, Declan Rice is nowhere near Thomas Partey. Partey has played and seen it all. Declan Rice, if he was so good, he's so good at the way they are hyping him. Because I even read some write-up where one of them was saying this Kevin Trippier that Declan Rice is one of the best midfielders in the world. I mean, that claim was something else. I didn't expect that, but I'm not surprised. This is not the first time they've been saying this. Declan Rice, he has been playing for West Ham for how long now? No club has say, okay, they want to break the bank for him. We've been hearing instances where they say, okay, he's being priced at over 100 million. I mean, no serious club, no world, no top club. I don't see the likes of Real Madrid, Bayern Munich. We break
But
the
your
bank.
club is interested in it.
You know, so I learned Arsenal are interested, but all the best to them. I don't see that it's not if he's a bad player, but the way they are comparing him to the last of Partey and Casemiro is an insult. The guy has not. What has he done? What does he have anything in his trophy cabinet? None, nothing.
Okay,
You know,
okay.
so why
Let's
clubs
leave,
like Manchester United, Chelsea,
let's leave right now.
they've not broken the bank for him all these years. You know,
Okay, James.
so for me, that statement, like I said, I'm not surprised. The English pundits,
Sorry, it was a slip of
that's
tongue.
always what they always do. So for me,
Sorry,
the guy's a good player,
it
but
was a slip of
he's
tongue.
not worth the amount that they are pricing him at. So that's just it.
Okay, if you ask me, I would prefer a Moses Caicedo over Declan Rice. James, let's talk about the 2023 FIFA Club World Cup. Of course, unfortunately, we thought Al Ahly would be able to make it to the final, but they had no power. They had no answer, rather, to the firepower of Real Madrid. And at the time, it was 2-1, but eventually the European champions went on to pick another, their fifth final at the competition. Real Madrid, they will be playing Al Hilal of Saudi Arabia. And of course, our own Judo Johnny Gallo will be in action for Al Hilal. That will be coming up on Saturday. But James, let's talk about something. I would ask you, why do you think Moroccan fans were booing Al Ahly and were cheering Real Madrid? Somebody was asking that what happened to brotherhood?
Brother.
What happened to Arab brotherhood? What happened to supporting our fellow North African? James, is the rivalry that thick between these North Africans?
Femi, the one thing about the North African, right?
Sorry,
Sometimes
would you say it is the same kind of rivalry that exists between Nigeria and Ghana?
Femi, the rivalry between Nigeria and Ghana is even more brotherly. You know, we don't take it to the extent of trying to, you know,
I like that.
we rival, we throw, we banter, but that's where it ends. But their own, they take it to another level. Okay, for example, look at what is happening between Algeria and Morocco.
And
Algeria and Morocco, you know. And for another game, the Club World Cup, Al Ahly and Real Madrid, you think okay, the Moroccans they will give their own the support. But so I was surprised. But I won't say it's a surprise. They were booing them, you know. So it doesn't come to me as a surprise, honestly, because I always that rivalry between these North African countries, so it can go wild. So they just give us an idea of how it is between them. You know that they're ready to go against their own, no matter what. You know, so that's one thing about them. I'm not surprised. So maybe because again it's Real Madrid, and you know Real Madrid they have fans all over the world. So maybe it's another angle that we can look at it from. Okay, Madrid, the heavy 14-time European champions with world stars. So maybe that's the reason. But they're sort of trying to even booing their own North African brothers. I mean, it goes to show that they don't care who it's none of their business. They can do whatever they want, and they show that they don't have there's no love lost between them. So that's just it. If you're talking about North African rivalry, they can take it to any level. Compared to Nigeria and Ghana, Nigeria Cameroon rivalry, I mean, I think I still prefer our own here, because after the football, everything hangs on the pitch. But their own, they can take it to any level.
We'll still sit down and eat our jollof, regardless of which is better, right? We'll still sit down and eat our jollof. Okay, quickly, James. Let's move on now. Let's talk about the situation of Manchester City right now, because the Premier League have said that if they are found guilty of these financial breaches, remember the FFP rule, that they might likely be thrown out of the league or fined, or get even a very stiffer penalty. But some Africans reacting to that, they said that Yaya Toure has a strong head, like we say, right there. They are saying Yaya Toure's ancestors are fighting Pep Guardiola because of how he was unjustly treated during his time. James, but would you agree with that? On the fun side of things now, they have said that Pep Guardiola should make sacrifice to the gods in order to appease them over how he treated Yaya Toure. Just on the fun side, James, very quickly.
No, for me, it had nothing to do with that. But even if he has been successful in almost all the clubs that he went to, the issue Yaya Toure had with him was at Barcelona. He went to Bayern Munich. Fine, he didn't win the Champions League, but he won the league multiple times. Fine, who will say, okay, he didn't win the Champions League. I mean, can you show me any top European manager who won the Champions League in all the clubs that they handled? None. So for me, they had nothing to do with that. It's the case between the Manchester City and the Premier League, and they handed them. They were charged for financial breaches, and so they have the right to challenge the charges. So that's what we are waiting for. But that talk of it's Yaya Toure that's after Guardiola. I mean that's way off the mark. It has nothing to do with it. And they have
No, sorry, James, sorry to cut in. Sorry to cut. A lot of people have said that Guardiola doesn't really like Yaya Toure because Yaya Toure currently works with Tottenham, right? He works with Tottenham. I think one of the younger group he works with them at Tottenham. So someone is saying that with what Yaya Toure did at Manchester City, it was enough for Guardiola to say, "Come on, guy, come and work with me." You know.
Well, he decided not to, and it's his choice. It's his choice. So that's just it. When he wanted Ateta to work with him, Ateta obliged. So you can't invite everybody to work with you. Remember that it's not only Ateta that has issues with him. Even that time Atsu said something, comparing Guardiola and Mourinho, that I preferred Mourinho. Even Zlatan Ibrahimovic too, we have something to say about Guardiola. Sergio Aguero, remember how he left Manchester City. So for me, this is not an issue that has to do with Guardiola. It's the club versus the Premier League. Guardiola is just an employee there. So if it happens that things don't go the way of the club, well, he's a very big coach. He will move on to the next project. He's a hot kick. So he's not going to be in the labor market for long. So if the verdict doesn't favor Manchester City, Guardiola will move on. It has nothing to do whether Yaya Toure's anger with him is what is affecting him and the club. It has nothing to do with it. So let's just leave that aside.
But Jay, would you expect someone like Riyad Mahrez to leave Manchester City if the club eventually gets demoted from the Premier League?
It's a decision for the player to make. I remember when Juventus went down, in 2006, when they were found guilty of bribery, corruption, and some players left, some players still remained, and they went with the likes of Buffon. They stayed back. I think they're pure too. They stayed back, went to Serie B, whipped everybody in Serie B and came back. So everybody, we're all different. There are some players who want to stay back, but you can't vouch for the kind of players we have now. It's about the money for them, and it's about them. So when you talk about loyalty, players' loyalty, I mean, compared to players of old, I don't think we have much players who have loyalty for club. How many players want to play in the championship, in the lower division? Because playing there is as if you are no more in the limelight. Everybody wants to play at the big stage where they can showcase their skill. So I can't imagine how many players want to stay back and help Man City to if eventually they are found guilty. So for me, let's just wait and see what comes out of the issue.
Okay. As we round up quickly, just for mention, it's not the best of times for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang because, according to reports, Chelsea have reached an agreement with Los Angeles FC for a loan deal. So from Barcelona to Chelsea and now to the MLS in the United States, it's not the best of times for Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. We wish him all the best so that he can bounce back. James Agberibi, time is not our friend. We would have loved to talk about the Bet Premier League for this weekend, but time is not on our side. So, of course, we'll be doing that on Monday by God's grace when we come around to review some of the things that took place over the weekend. And by then, hopefully, we are praying that we'll have got some very, very positive reports concerning Christian Atsu. We are praying for a miracle, and it is the only thing that God does very, very well. It is, like James said earlier, it is out of our hands at the moment. Only God can actually save the situation right now. James Agberebi, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Femi. Look forward to the next episode.
Okay. Okay, so our fans around the world continue to pray for the safe return of Christian Atsu. We are hoping that, of course, we'll come on Monday with so much laughter on our faces, so that, of course, we will at least once again say, God, we thank you for answering our prayer. So until we see you on Monday, I remain Ashalula Femi. Bye for now.